Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'll be taking you through all of my Parkside hand tools that I picked up from Lidl supermarket. Every time I go to buy some food shopping I tend to come back with a tool. So they're all pretty much really good value for money in my opinion, and really nice useful tools to have around the home if you're a DIYer like myself. So in this video I'm going to show you all of the tools that I've picked up in the last year or two that I would recommend that you look out for when you're at Lidl supermarket. Of course they don't always have them in stock, they come up for sale at certain times during the year, so you need to look out for them. So here are my pull saws. All of these came from Lidl at different time points. This is the first one I bought. What's great about these saws is when you buy them they've got a really sharp blade, and this one in particular, it's got two different blades either side, a coarse blade and a fine blade, so you can swap it over depending on what you're working on, and they're nice and flexible as you can see, so you can get into awkward spots to cut flush. And you can replace these blades too. There's a button here and this blade actually comes out, so you can get replacement blades. All of these were very cheap to buy. This is the latest one I got. This only has one blade on it, but it's got a nice long handle with the rope on it. Nice lightweight sharp tools. And this is a small one for doing smaller work, again very useful, and it has a button so you can change the blade. This one came with two blades. Here's the spare, a fine and a coarse. Really useful tools to use for cutting flush, just general cuts really. They're quite nice to use. So here are all of the files that I've bought from Lidl. Here are the larger ones, again very cheap. These were in a set, and these tiny ones were in a set. Nice grippy rubber handles on them. Great for all sorts of projects. There's rasps, there's like little round ones, flat ones, and these tiny ones come in handy too on the smaller stuff. Here are the Pry Bars, crowbars that I've bought. I bought these in a set from Lidl. I got them all together. As you might have seen on my channel, I'm always breaking things up, such as pallets, getting old nails out of wood that I've found, so these come in handy. This one in particular, you can really like rip the nails out with this one and get into those awkward spots. And there's some useful shaped ones too. So if you break up a lot of old wood, remove nails, that sort of thing, then these are pretty useful. So here are all of the clamps that I bought from Lidl. Again, they've got these nice rubberized handles on them, so they're quite grippy. All of these styles of clamps. I've got a few different sizes of these. Got the smaller ones and these bigger, heavier ones. And again, these were bought in sets at very cheap. In my opinion, I've not really seen cheaper when I've been out and about for clamps, so there's not many places you can just walk into a store and buy clamps from either. So to get them at your supermarket can be really convenient if you're into that sort of thing. And there's some squeeze clamps too. These squeeze clamps, they're not the best squeeze clamps I've ever used. I prefer the Irwin quick grip clamps, but these are a lot cheaper. So, and they do the job just fine. They're just a bit heavier, bit clumsier than the Irwin clamps, but they're good clamps nonetheless. So these are really useful tools. First of all, a little spirit level with a metal body, quite a nice little neat tidy spirit level. I got that from Lidl, as well as this, I'm not sure what you call this, a saw clamping guide. You can clamp this on, it's adjustable to a piece of wood, and then use your circular saw to cut a straight line. Really useful. It's got like a handle here that clamps down on the wood, and these rubber grippy vice jaw type things, so you can get a nice straight edge on a piece of wood with this. Again, very cheap to buy and a very useful tool, not the sort of tool you can get at many places, so really nice to find that. And there's also this, which again I'm not sure what you call this, a kind of spirit level straight edge guide. It's got a handle on it and it has these, either side, these red plastic things, they've got a little hole in them and a notch. So if you're putting up something where you need to put 2 points on a wall, you can measure these 2 points, slide these down the ruler, and then you can just mark the 2 dots on the wall and use the built-in spirit level that it has. So it does multiple jobs at once. Not a tool that I've used that often, but I can imagine it being very useful when I do need it. I have used it though, and this clamp is pretty useful too. The only problem is with tools like this is remembering that you have them. I have used a straight edge that I've found while I've got this, and I've completely forgotten that I own this, and I've had it hanging up. So if you can remember that you've got it, it's a great tool, but if you forget, it's a shame because it's a really nice idea. Next up we have these scrapers. Really well made, quite heavy duty tools. Nice rubberized grip, nice thick steel on these. I don't know what you'd call this one, it's like a multi-purpose type thing. You can open paint cans with it, you can get into cracks to remove grout and silicone, you can scrape with it. Multifunctional, nice heavy weight, juicy tool. This one, another scraper with a handle on the top, more for sort of furniture restoration, and you can replace the blade on it. I don't know where you get a replacement blade from, but I plan on resharpening this one anyway. It's quite thick metal, but again, not a tool that you can find in most places. It's quite an unusual tool, so nice to find in the supermarket. Here's another big scraper. Maybe this one's better for sort of wallpaper, decorating, that sort of thing, and using with some filler maybe. This one had a built-in sort of little docking station here for a drill bit, so that you could sort of use it as a screwdriver as well, like this, but I've took that out. But a nice little feature, and again, pretty well made. So these are tools that I use all the time. Squares. Here's a speed square, very cheap, from Lidl. Parkside speed square, nice looking speed square. It's quite nice, black, really cheap, and it does a good job. And I also bought this set of 3 different sized squares, and they're nice. They don't have wooden handles, but what's nice about these ones is that if you need to adjust them in future, if they move, they've got little Allen key holes, so you can adjust them if you need to get them square again. And they also have built-in little spirit levels on them, so you can use them as a mini spirit level. I've not used them for that actually. Again, it's something that you forget. It's like a feature that the tool has that you forget that it has. I've never thought about using the spirit levels on the squares, but you can if you need to. Save space in your toolbox, I suppose. This big one is pretty useful. I didn't think it would be, but it's great for transferring lines over from one piece to another because it's quite long. So instead of using a framing square, you can hook this over the end of a piece of wood and get a nice long line. So next up we've got these drilling angle guides. Again, not something that you use very often, but when you're in a tight spot they can be quite useful. So this attaches to your chuck and you can bend it into a different position. Say if you're fitting some kind of awkward cabinet and you need the drill to go up here or over there, you can get at really awkward screws with this. And the same with this one. This has more of a sort of right angle on it, for like more rigid, sturdy jobs. If you've got a more stubborn screw, not something I use very often. And again, it's a sort of tool that you forget that you own. So if you've got this in the bottom of your toolbox, you might forget you've even got it, but really cheap and really useful to have. So here we have a metal punch for marking metal before you drill. Nice made metal punch. I never had one of these before. I thought I'd pick it up, really cheap. And it even came with 2 spare inserts, I'm guessing when they wear out and they go flat at the bottom. You've got spare inserts. Nice little tool to have. And also these nail sets. So if you use brad nails and you want to set the nails just below the surface, you can use these. They're also good for removing stuff like removing pins, so for restoration purposes. And there's 3 different sizes. Nice useful tools, and again they're pretty well made as well. So here's another useful tool that you don't know that you need until you see it in the supermarket. I think you'd call this a lever punch. It's got different size holes here that you rotate it round to, and then you can punch a hole in lever. So if you need to increase the size of your belt, for example, it's a good tool for that. Not a tool that I thought I needed. I've used it a couple of times. It was very cheap, so I thought I'd just throw it in the toolbox, and when I need it I'd get it out. Another useful little tool is this little angle finder, a little box that digitally finds the angle. So it's got a little magnet and you can stick it to a blade and work out the angle. So if you're looking for a particular angle or you want to set your saw to be accurate, again another cheap useful little tool. Here are my wire brushes. So I bought this set of 3. Great for doing cleanups on tools, restoration projects, that sort of thing. Quite well made as well. And I've got a selection of wire wheels. This one's for a grinder. And then these are for drills or drill presses. Again, really useful for cleaning up old tools, that sort of thing. So this is a pretty good tool from Lidl, a Parkside compass, bigger than your average one that you use like in a maths class, and it's got a sort of metal pen with it, so you can mark wood. You can take this out of the compass, you can draw on the wood and mark it, and then you can use it in the compass too. Really well made tool and very cheap and inexpensive. Here is a sanding block that I picked up from Lidl, and it's a really useful sanding block. I think it came with some sandpaper too. Simple design. It's got some springs on the side, a handle on the top. Nice, cheap, useful sanding block. And here is my metalworking vise, what I got from Lidl supermarket too. A Parkside metalworking vise. I've got it mounted to this little jig. I use it to fit it into my woodworking vise so that I can put it away when I'm not using it. But I've had this probably 2 or 3 years now. Really nice tool. I think it cost around £20 or so. I'm not sure what it would cost now, but I use it quite a lot and it's pretty well made. Okay then, so that is about it for this video. So that's all the tools that I've picked up in the last year or two from Lidl supermarket here in the UK. Parkside tools. The odd tool that I've picked up I haven't kept because I didn't like it. So all the tools that you've seen in this video are tools that I think are really good value for money and worth a go. They're worth keeping in my opinion. So if you did find this video useful, please remember to like and also consider subscribing for much more DIY related content. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.